On
This
Thursday,
conference will now be recorded.
call this meeting of Rome City Council to order, and I've asked everybody to please silence their cell phones at this time. At this time, do we have any public comments? Actually, maybe.
I know. Sorry, I'm trying to get it set. What it was. Okay. Couple of things. In council tonight, when the ARPA funds are on there, I asked that you look into placing it on the senior building. Uh, placing um, it on the senior citizen building behind us um, to fix it up and renaming it the Marie Moore building, so we can get it up to making it as beautiful as it can be, so we can have senior luncheons there in honor of her. Um, Pardon. And then also, um, Old Town Rome is having a garage sale this Saturday. So if anybody would like to join in, and we greatly appreciate it. So that's it. So council again, just renaming and fixing up the senior building and for Marine. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Sammy.
Thank you. Sam Eason, I live in 1107 Mount Plain. I haven't been here in quite a while, so it's good to see you all again. I want you to know this latest edition of the Rome City government we elected in May. You're doing a really fine job. So well done. I do have a couple of points of minutia. One is that this building is already named the Marine Corps Community Center. So someday we might want to actually put her name on it, since we voted for that. Um, Two, we haven't updated the city limit sign since I moved here. Congratulations. And three, um, I saw that we changed the hours on Fridays for adjourning at noon at City Hall. And somebody on Facebook made a comment to, well, when did the city council approve that? And I thought, you know what, maybe we ought to put a new ordinance that says that the city council doesn't include every bit of minutia administration. Well, of course, but I'm just saying that so that no one ever calls into question, actually say you can do it. Because, oh my God, you don't need to have a major deal. So thank you. You've done a wonderful job since then. Please keep up the good
Moving on to announcements. Uh, yeah, we're not going to, October 31st, 10th annual treat at Rome Family Park. We have November 4th, the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 6 p.m. November 5th, bulk trash pickup day. November 6th is the monthly outdoor contest contest, public meeting. November 11th is city offices will be closed for Veterans Day. Also, we had tentatively scheduled for the shredder truck and the dumpster trash day tomorrow for Saturday, the 19th. That's going to have to be posted. We're looking to try to get that line down. We can let you know hopefully 16th of November will be the new date. And at this time, Mr. Walters, if you give
Yes, there's a planned library old mill property cleanup on October 26th at 1 p.m. Volunteers will be appreciated. That is the property that's 1 acre directly behind City Hall. The veterans will have a flag placement at the Aurora Cemetery at 9 a.m. on November 7th. Veterans Day ceremony will be on November 9th at 11 a.m. from Veterans Park. And then there will be a Veterans Flag retrieval in the flags at the Aurora Cemetery at 9 a.m.
And one last announcement. Not this Saturday, but next, October 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is our DEA drug take back. So if you have medication in your medicine cabinet that you no longer use or it's outdated, instead of disposing of it properly on our water supply or going into the trash or having children or somebody else get to it, just bring it to us. Just drive through. We will take it. We will take it to the DEA and they will dispose of it properly. We did this one time. It was our first time last time. We didn't get a huge turnout. We'd like to see more come out this next Saturday, October 26th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Just walk your park.
Chief. All right. Are there any other announcements? Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, do we have any questions concerning the monthly staff report, the general report, or the board minutes? Heard. Moving on to the regular agenda. We're going to table item 6, item 8, and item 9. It would be better if we could have the entire council here for those items. I believe that we'd like to have everybody here. So item 1, application for the Peace Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We do have one individual who has submitted an application, Mrs. Suzanne Hunt, who's in the audience with us today. She is a resident here in Rome and has been for the past 10 years. And we do have a seat open on P&Z, and so I asked her to come in today so she could just introduce herself. And if council has any questions to ask of her or inquire as to her interest, then we can do so at this meeting and determine about an appointment. Mrs. Hunt, would you mind moving to the mic, please? Thank you. You just want me to do I'd like for the position of sitting on the planning voting board. We've been living in Wisconsin for the last 7 years. We have been for 7 years. And I would like to learn a little bit more about the government, how it works, how we make decisions, including I am from the health sector, and that is services for the last 7 years. Every time I work to still sales, however, more on the side of things. I have absolutely no background in zoning and planning.
So I am eager to learn. About
Thank you very much.
You're in good company. We have several new planning and zoning committee members that are learning the ropes. We also have scheduled for interactions at some point to come in and do some training with everyone. We've got folks in the commission, so let's get right in. Looking forward to it.
If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion. PC.
Move that we appoint Suzanne Hunt, planning and zoning commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Moving on, item number 2. This is a resolution opposing the Chisholm Trail landfill proposed in Southern Wise County. Everyone's probably heard this. It's a construction materials landfill going up the road. And the concern is how close it is to the Trade River and to our groundwater. There's widespread opposition to this landfill. Any other questions the council has about this?
So I will say that the mayor and I have attended some meetings about this very issue and the concerns that not only the cities in and around that wrecked area, but then those of us that are next to that particular spot. You've also had Judge Clark's attention in Wise County, who had met with the person who had filed the application for that particular landfill. And he is also in opposition to the installation in the area that it's in. He had made the assumption or thought before he talked to the owner that they might be speaking of a property that is a little further out in Wise County towards the west, and that was not the case. And I think his comment to the owner was, this is the worst place you could have picked in Wise County to try and put this. So he is in opposition. There is going to be, I believe, an open hearing or an open meeting about this through TCEQ, and they are urging not just the city and the official governmental bodies, if they are in opposition, to make their voices known, but they are very much urging the individual residents to also go online to TCEQ and make their comments known, because often those will carry more weight, oddly enough, than a city will. But most of the cities that I know of in Wise County that are going to be affected by this are approving this resolution in opposition of that installation, and will be submitting it to TCEQ as part of the formal application process.
I just wanted to make it known that the most recent application, TCEQ permit, dropped off on Tuesday at the Rhome Community Library. So if you want to go look at that permit application yourself, that is where you will find it.
Talking to some people from the other cities, the company that bought this sand pit, groundwater leaching, they have a history of setting these things up and then selling. As you know, the county does not have a health department, so there's a lot of opposition to this. So we're asking the council to resolve that we will be in opposition to it too. Any questions from the council? All right, at this time, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution opposing the installation of landfill in Southern Wise County, and direct staff to provide a signed copy to proper officials and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 3 on the agenda, resolution supporting the Wise County Regional Water District. We were at the BDF. What this is, folks, no one city in Southern Wise County has the resources to solve our water problem. We just don't have the context that needs to happen. Make sure we have adequate supply of drinking water. So, we have to form a new water district which takes action by the Texas legislature. And what we like to do it, all the cities in the surrounding area are also passing resolutions that we can send to Austin so that we can get the vote the next session to stand this district up. And it will leverage uh, resources from the entire area in the county, in the state, and federal to help do projects to bring water here. Because as you know, the Biloxi office is being depleted at an alarming rate. We're stuck in the ground dry. If we don't do something about it, we're going to do nothing. We would ask the city to support this. When we go down to Austin in the spring, we this water legislation, and they can pass it. We know Cam Parker's on board with it, and Dennis Hopper's on board with it. Jay Clarkson on board with it. We've got widespread support for this district. One of the projects already in the planning stage is planning is to bring water in here from Eagle Mountain Lake, water treatment. And that's a good near-term solution that will lead to a long-term solution that we bring it in from home. But nobody can do this on their own.
So I think you summarized generally very well everything that we've been dealing with in the creation of this district. I will just remind council that we had allocated $10,000 as part of our portion of paying for the legal expenses in creating the legislation. Since we originally formed this with most of the cities in southern Wise County, we have also obtained the city of Decatur has joined, and the county has also been a part of this. We have talked to Walnut Creek Special Utility District. We've also talked to Mr. Pinkoffs. There's been a extensive widening of interest in what we are doing. We've also had some reach out from folks in Parker County that are interested in learning how we came about this partnership. My understanding that Parker County is much further behind us than we are in this process, but we're happy to visit with them. We've also been very fortunate that John Cabrales from New Fairview has been the driving force behind this and has the legislative know-how from which to run this process, because he was the legislative advisor to the city of Denton for many years, and he was consistent city manager there. So we're very fortunate to have this expertise. They have retained, the steering committee has retained an attorney. They have drafted the legislation. This or resolution will be attached to, and they're trying to keep it on what's called the local consent track, where it doesn't go into the General Assembly and get attached to another bill or become in the churn, if you will, of everything else that would come this legislative season. So if we can keep it on local consent, then it's much like the consent agenda for council, and there's no opposition. We should have a much greater chance of getting this passed. Now, just to be clear, this district does not have taxing authority. It is simply a district from which we could leverage our cohesiveness to negotiate water deals and potentially green that and or apply for grants for this area. I'm very excited that Decatur joined. Bridgeport is considering that. I think this but they are also considering that. As a matter of fact, when the mayor and I went to the meeting yesterday with Mr. Dominguez, it was a full house. Because that many folks in Wise County have become interested in what we're doing. So it's very very heartening to see everyone work together.
And like I said, we had all the heavy hitters there. It's awful. Good time out. There's a lot of support behind it. I hope you will consider it. So if you have questions,
This is great.
no other comments, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution in support of the regional water district for Wise County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5. The use of funds from the hotel motel fund to promote business and tourism.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have discussed this at our last meeting. What we didn't get to was a particular amount that we would be authorized to spend out of the hotel motel fund. We have done some reconnaissance, if you will, and we have talked with the new Ace Hardware store that is coming into Rome, and they have been generous and are donating 1,000 feet of string and 1,000 light bulbs that we will be able to use as part of this process. But to give you some idea of the scale of what we're working with, we need 11,000 feet and 11,000 light bulbs. So we are going to be screwing in light bulbs and getting this ready fast and furiously as we start this process of bringing tourists and traffic to Rome as part of our push to bring awareness and promote tourism within our city. One of the other things that we also, when we went to the TML conference, and while we're not going to get into great detail this evening, hopefully the technology will work for the next meeting, we were able to visit with many vendors there that had this type of display that might be of benefit to us. One of the things that I think would be great in Rome if we could get to a very nice Christmas tree that's potentially large. The one that we looked at was 20 feet tall. It came pre-lit. It had all of the decorations that went with it. The place can ship it to you fairly quickly, and honestly, folks, for the cost of what I know other Christmas trees have cost other municipalities, it was extremely affordable. I'm not advocating that this year. I'm just saying that might be something that we want to look at in our future years. But it is going to take us an initial investment between $30,000 and $50,000 to invest in lights and lighting and poles and extension cords, etc. And we are hoping to keep that down to a bare minimum because we have been told from our folks that are partnering with us through Ace Hardware that they may be able to set us up an account where we can buy it at their cost. If that happens, which we are pursuing, that will dramatically lower what we're looking at. If not, we have been told that we could apply for a contractor's license, and that also reduces the cost. So the numbers that I'm giving you are somewhere in between what is the maximum that we would need authorization to spend, and then we'll try and keep it just literally as cost effective as possible. Most of the work is going to be done by staff, including screwing in all those light bulbs. We're happy to take volunteers for that. So we're bringing this forward for direction from council as to the spending limit that we need to set.
So we're starting off with you. Do we know how much we have in the account?
Yes, ma'am. We have about 150,000.
Okay, so we're starting off small, and then every year building on that.
Well, we won't be spending that. The initial cost is really going to come in the lights and the screen. Once we have that, the stuff that we're buying is commercial driven. As a matter of fact, Mr. Dominguez and Brooke and I went to the Ace Hardware and we took a look at it, and it's the faceted LED bulbs, and he took one out of the box, the man that was in there, and he said, these are really heavy duty, and he threw it on the ground, and it hit the ground and bounced higher than Jesus was standing, and we grabbed it so that it wouldn't break, but he said, you really have to work hard to break it. So once we have the initial investment, we shouldn't spend this again. It should be much lower in the next year.
The idea is to continually spend a little bit to
Yes.
build on the lights and have it.
Yes.
It's huge lighting unit.
And one of the things that we've also talked about is partnering, and I've spoken with Mrs. Beecraft about partnering with them for a tree lighting event for the city of Rome, which we are going to do this year. It's going to be on December the 7th. We just don't have all of our ducks lined up in a row yet. We've already reserved some non-water related bounce houses and slides and things that the kids can do. We've started getting in some little gifts that we can put in little bags to hand out to the children. We have a popcorn machine in the back that we're going to get out and figure out how to work, and we're going to rent a candy machine, and we're going to have staff who can be on hand, kind of an all call for those that are available. And I'm hoping that that grows every year to where the kids know that this is something they can expect. Families can come and have a good time. I've been a part of this in other cities where we've even rented a live reindeer to come and be a part of the event where the kids can see one and pet one. We've also rented a sleigh with wheels where the people can sign up for that. So there's all kinds of really neat things that we can do to make this an event where it draws people to our city. So the initial investment on the lights is going to be our biggest thing.
So what would the initial around dollar amount be?
We're looking for authorization between 30 and 50,000 with a limit, the upper limit of 50,000, no more.
You guys, if anybody was at the National Night Out and saw how many people came to Rome City Park for that, it was down. thing a massive success. And the fire department guys were there, and this is something everybody came to me and say, "Hey, I wish we had more stuff like this."
So I'm sorry, Mr. Russell, if I could just add one more thing. The thought is, in talking to Mrs. Beecraft, they will be at the Veterans Park getting things set up for the tree lighting, and they light the tree at 6 o'clock. They will have hot chocolate and some other refreshments for folks there. So the thought is to have our event or in tandem with this from 4 to 6 at the park. At 6 o'clock, we shut everything down at the park. Hopefully, we can mosey everyone down to the Veterans Park and light the tree and welcome the season, and everyone can go about their day, because at that point it will be dark, and that will be a great way to kind of start off our Christmas holiday.
Approximately what is accrued to the hotel fund each year? Do you know that?
Between 18 and 20,000.
I'm excited about it, so I'm ready for all eyes to be in town. But I also want to refurbish the old water tower too, so
Well,
I
and
keep other
that's
things in mind.
one of the things, Mrs. Tide, thank you for bringing that up, that we talked to them about at TML, is there are companies out there that can come and repaint the old water tower, which is one of the things that we've discussed before as part of making that a center for tourism. And we can brand it, and then they can put lights on it that we can use for every season. There's almost something every month that you can put on that with those LED changeable lights that would really be a showstopper, because you're going to see it from so far away. And so that's all part of creating that sense of community in Rome that people have told us that they're looking for, and they want to be a part of the city. And you cannot spend the hot mill money on anything other than tourism for the city. So it has been sitting in an account, which I'm not advocating that we expend it all by any means, but I would like to see some of it go towards things that the residents have said they'd like to see. So I would need a motion authorizing staff to spend up to $50,000 out of that account so we can start getting all the lights open.
I move that we allow the expenditure of hotel tax funds, purchase of Christmas lighting equipment, up to 30 to 50,000. Try to hold it.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Moving on to item number 5, allocating and expending the remaining American Rescue Plan Act funds, or otherwise known as ARPA.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have in front of you a spreadsheet that I have been working to validate the information for our ARPA funds to make sure that we are not double spending the money, because in all honesty, cities they can run afoul of that. And making sure that we have provided our grant vendor all of the invoicing that they need to submit to the federal government to show how we have spent these funds. You may recall that Rome received about $457,000 in ARPA money, or American Rescue Plan Act money, as a result of COVID. Some of it has been expended, and we do have a balance left. I talked to our grant vendor this week, and we do have November's and December's meeting to issue a memorandum of understanding as to how we're going to use this money. And so that's why it's very important that we get an adequate assessment of what's left. For instance, you all had allocated $18,000 for laptop computers. Well, it didn't come in at quite that much. It's not a whole lot. It's $34 that we had left over, but we want to make sure we don't leave any of that on the table. There are several accounts like this in that fund. You have this spreadsheet in front of you, and you'll see I've broken it out by police and fire and technology and accounting and public works and facilities. A couple of the things that you will notice under accounting, the STW audit work shows a zero balance. When we were going through the process of looking at this and auditing this account, I have found that most of the work that we had done by the consultants to prep our finances for the last two audits was coded to contract services in the budget, not department. So city funds are fungible, and we have adjusted budgets to account for that. And so we may want to consider reallocating. For instance, you had authorized up to $37,000 for audit work out of ARPA funds. You may want to consider reallocating that to something else, considering we have already absorbed that into the budget line items that they were meant to go towards. The same thing under the repair apparatus for the fire department. You will see that's a zero balance under that one. You had authorized $30,000 for repair of some of the engines that we have, and those were coded to equipment repair and maintenance versus ARPA funds. We have down underneath facilities, we have the senior center repair and the electronic sign that was authorized by council for a total of $45,000 that was not expended. The $30,000 is not going to be sufficient in today's dollars to fix the senior center, as we don't have the staff capacity to move on each as we would like. And the $15,000 for the electronic sign, based on the next item that we're going to talk about on the agenda, is probably not in good investment use. One, it came in over budget with the $15,002. We have some decisions to make about our facilities. So we could have anywhere between about $100,000 up to maybe 120 or so, but I need to make certain of these numbers, and we just ran out of time. So what I'm trying to do this evening is give council an overview of where we sit, what the steps are for the remaining funds for ARPA, and what we need to do in order to allocate them and spend them, because we do have time deadlines. So on your November 14th meeting, I will have this fully audited down to the penny so that we know exactly what's left and what's not. We're going to submit all the invoices to our vendor, and you all can make the decision based on the next item and the T&L update as to how you want to use these funds.
When we talk about it at the next, whatever the 14th meeting, can you have a list of what everyone did? I know we've done that before, but
Yes, ma'am, I will have all of that. Yeah. I've got a list that we've kept in your agenda commentary of what we had talked about over the meetings from before, and so we just didn't get a chance to get all of this unwrapped today.
Someone had an idea about what they thought money should be spent on. How would they communicate that to the council members? Would we pass on to you, or just how would
You could certainly submit that to me if it's a council member and they brought it to you. You can bring it up at the meeting. If it's an individual that wants to come to the mic and submit that, feel free to do so.
One recommendation I have is one thing that we do not have in Rome is an emergency operation. We do not have maybe like we had a train derailment, hazmat spill, wildfire come through, a tornado, anything. We have no means to deal with an emergency situation here. What I would suggest council authorize to use some of these funds to refurbish this room and the kitchen. This facility could be used as not only council chambers, but also for community use and also as an emergency operation. And again, we could update it with some better communications gear. In the event that something like that ever happens, we would have a place to operate. And I think we need it. It's better to do it now while it's clear sunny day instead of waiting for it to happen. I think that would be a wise use of that money. And with this could be a multi-purpose facility here. The seniors could come in here. We have an operating kitchen that's not a health hazard. We could use this building for a lot of different things. That's my recommendation.
but we don't have an idea of what that would cost.
And that's why we've got to talk about this again on the 14th. This is simply a broad overview of what we're dealing with. I still won't have monies numbers by then, but if we say have $100,000 left in the system, we'll be hypothetical. If you want to allocate so much to this project and so much to that project. I'll need to draft memorandums of understanding and get those in the format that the grant folks need for the federal government so that we can approve it on our December meeting and we can meet all the deadlines of the government because we are running dangerously. Question? No, there's not.
Action. Any other discussion? Moving on to item number 7. Lease options for City Hall facilities and long-range planning of modular facility.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something that the Mayor and I have been discussing at least for 2 or 3 months now, that the lease at City Hall is expired for about 2 months. We have been in that building, I believe, since 2017. I think that's what I recall seeing in some of our documents. And we have had great relationship with Mrs. Garcia, who owns the building. I understand someone owned it prior to when we first started leasing the facility. As council knows, that building is not City Hall friendly, but it's done its job and it has been a very good use to us for the past several years. What council needs to make a decision on this evening is whether you want to negotiate a 1-year term extension, if you want to go month to month where we're at, or if you'd like to do a 2-year extension with rent increases for each month as we go through the process. One of the things that the mayor and I have discussed, and unfortunately since the PowerPoint is not working, we have talked with a couple of vendors prior to TML, and when we were at TML, we talked to 2 or 3 more about the idea of a modular building being used for City Hall and consolidating as best as we can all of the staff in one building. Now that doesn't include everyone in Public Works, but it would include the fire chief, the police chief, and all the police department, the Public Works director, the administrative staff. It would provide for 3 windows in a lobby. We would actually have a conference room so that council and 4 staff could hold meetings in the conference room. It would allow for a unit that we would own and could be repurposed into something else at a later date if we so chose. And there are a variety of options that deal with not only the configuration and the layout, but also either you purchase it outright, or you lease it, or you lease it to own. We've got a couple of options, and I know you can see this, but what we're looking at and what we've measured out here in front of the old school is really the only place we have it. I have talked with folks who do modular buildings, and if you remove the tree by the wall and you're mindful of the gas meter that is out there, you have 135 feet by about 50 feet. So they can back in the units. We would have a lobby on this side where folks could use a handicap accessible ramp to get into the lobby and have double doors for that. Not only would that be very beneficial for us to be co-located here with the fire department in this facility for council meetings, we could also potentially explore what council wants to do with the old police department. If you may have noticed that the lot next to it is for sale, someone who wants to use that for a better and higher purpose as a commercial lot may want to purchase the old police department. That will be up to council. But we've got to make a decision on how you all want to move forward at some point. Even if it's not a modular building, we still have to determine what you want to do with the lease on the current City Hall building that exists. So I have information on a 1-year term extension. It has a 10% rent increase, which would make it about $1,500 a month if we pay it in full for the year. Or if we go month to month, it's about $1,600 a month if we pay it monthly. If you do a 2-year term extension, you have about $1,500 a month, and then the second year it goes up again, a slight amount to about $1,550 a month if you pay it all up front. But that's your decision. That is not something that staff can make that unilaterally because it requires expenditure funds as well as facility acquisition from council. So I need some direction as to which way you think you want to go.
Just a little history here. We leased that building because the old City Hall was basically condemned. and it wasn't big enough to work out. And we was only going to lease it short term because we were going to build, we were going to make the old school and make admin building. Still, I personally have, I would love to see that happen eventually, to have the old school, make this our city government complex right here in the city. And consolidation of all these offices in modular buildings would probably save enough money to pay for the general fund. It's a win-win in my book. I'm for it. Um, I don't think we need to keep pouring money down the drain. The building is too small for our people to work out of. And the facilities they're working out of now are, I think it's a good idea, but we wants to do. How much for that building?
It depends on what length of building that we obtain. The costs that I'm getting now are about $500,000 to purchase. The costs are different if you lease the facility or if you finance it through GovCap, which is something else that you can consider doing. Regardless of what we do on the modular, I would need some direction if you want us to go month to month. And my recommendation to council on the current facility. I have talked to Mrs. Garcia, and she said that that was certainly an option for us, which would give us the opportunity to do some analysis on the modular building, get hard costs for it, find out any other questions that council may have. We'd only be paying electricity, water, etc. on the one facility instead of the two that we're currently operating in. Scott could vacate what he's in. Jesus could also come into the office so that we're all co-located in one space. I don't think it's not easy for me to quantify, but all of these gentlemen that are not located at City Hall spend a lot of time traversing, getting documents, coming over for meetings, signing things. If we're all in one space, that's one of the issues. So initial costs are about $500,000, depending upon the length, and then there are other options to spread that out.
How quickly they do buy it? How quickly could they have it?
4 to 6 months, and that's installed. It also includes the skirting, the air conditioning, the handicap access, the ramp doors, etc.
If we're going to have that building up here, instead of having that's
It needs to be as long as it can. We don't have a lot of wood, but we have a lot of depth.
So you said the two buildings, City Hall and the police department, so all the police.
Correct.
And so how was that for their security? Got it. So are y'all going to implement that?
So we have the space behind us that Public Works parks in, that we can parking, if you will, for the police cars, etc. We're thinking that staff during the day would park out facing the wall, and then visitors would come in here and park in the interior, and then any of the units we could put back in this area behind this gated area.
I was actually talking about cyber security. Is Chief here? CGIS information, is that going to make it any different where you have to have codes and combos and all that shit?
Yes, to remain CJ compliant, we must secured area. And when I looked at modular building that was set up by the company, that would keep it in that area.
One of the other things that we've talked about that kind of gives me a little pause now is our current facility is a metal building that our evidence room is located in. And what we've talked with Mr. Dominguez about is there is a building in Public Works that's an apartment building that we could further secure and use that as an evidence room instead of having it located in this modular facility. Of course, all of those details have to be worked out with staff. I don't know if it's feasible, but it's something to at least explore, and that would free up a little bit of space. It also gives the PD a briefing room. There's some future office space that we could use for it at the moment in case staff grows over the next 5 years or so. And then the nice thing about the buildings, if we own them, is if we obtain additional property and we need to use them for some other type of facility, we can move. If at some point we get where we can actually refurbish the old school, which is the ultimate goal, and make that a community centerpiece, then we will not have expended funds on rent. We will own a facility that is of a substantial nature that could be used for some other purpose.
I know it's not probably going to be the most aesthetically pleasing out in front of them, but I mean, I guess the having it in the school probably isn't aesthetically pleasing either.
It would come skirted, and they can put something that looks like rock around the front, but you won't see much of it except for this piece here.
They have facades they put on. They can put stone and metal. They can make it look better because there's no trade down.
Yeah, that's I'm genuinely good picturing something that probably isn't what it's going to look like, but
We would get some photos for council to see, and you would have all of those aesthetics and the layout. I have a very rough draft of a layout that I have presented to some of the vendors just to get some better costs because they were really varying, but we were not able to get it on the screen.
and so month to month it was going to be about 1,600.
1,687.
And if we did a 1-year term, it's going to be 1,500.
Roughly, it's $1,467.43 per month, and then 1,687 cents. So you're looking at just over $100.
Remember, if you in the city hall, they don't even have a conference table to sit. The place is really small, and even Aurora has a nicer place for their city to work out. We've got to do something for this city's future. And I think this is a good interim step in the near term to solve our problem until we can eventually reach the goal of redoing the old school and making that the centerpiece of the city government.
Well, I mean, all the only decision we need is whether we're going to go month to month.
Correct.
So, yeah. I mean, I think month to month is good.
I'm good with that. And I'm curious, do we have the funds? We just wanted to buy it right now.
It's possible. We just finished closing out FY24. We did show a surplus in sales and use tax of almost $500,000 the last time I looked. We also have these ARPA funds that we're going to have to figure out. So as I continue to tighten up those finances over the next several weeks, we met with one of our consultants today about finances and finishing the last little bit of reclassifications in FY24. Then I will have a good number.
It's $500,000 just for the building.
And the setup. It's basically, we can turn the key and go. Now, we are not at this time anticipating purchasing furniture. We do have furniture in the old school that was received from the TCU donation that we could probably move some of that into a building where the offices were big enough to accommodate that area. All the staff now on hand has furniture. So for now, we are not anticipating a big run up of all brand new furniture and all that. That's not needed.
I was more thinking if we're going to move you guys up there, maybe upgrade on the tab, computers, everything. Pretty bad. Better
I need a motion on so which way you want to
Yeah,
go
well,
on the current facility.
Okay, one more question. Did y'all even discuss this since it's going to be about 6 months before we get the modular? Would it be cheaper to have a 6-month lease? Or
I did not discuss that with Mrs. Garcia because depending upon which vendor I talk to, the time varies. And this is their slow time of the year apparently. So if we make a decision fairly quickly, one vendor said they thought 4 months. So I did not pursue that. She's been very, very helpful and very easy to work with.
not a substantial increase between month to month and a 1-month lease?
So I need a motion.
We need a motion to authorize the city to extend the lease on the current city hall on a month-to-month basis.
I make a motion to authorize the city to extend our lease on a month-to-month basis.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
All right, at this time, we have no need for executive session. Have any items for future agenda? Heard? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.